everyone, I am here today with another book rant discussion thing, and today I want to talk about flawed evil characters. I don't think that there's enough of them in some of the books that we read. Once in a while, of course, it's always great to have just the pure evil character that you hate with a fiery burning passion deep within your soul. But sometimes it's really nice to also see characters that are flawed and you hate them, but at the same time you feel that you feel bad for hating them and you're just as conflicted. I should probably mention that this video is probably going to contain some spoilers. The series that I will be talking about the most will have to be the Shatter Me series, the Darkest Minds, Game of Thrones, and the Mortal Instruments series. So, if you have read those already, you are free to stay tuned. If not, I probably suggest that you probably head out now just because you don't want to know why these characters are flawed and what happens, and just spoilers that I think, if you know, will take away from actually reading the book and the series. So, my first character. So the first person who really stands out to me, just because I finished reading the series and you do a complete 180 of the character, has to be the Shatter Me series by Tahereh Mafi. It just... Warner, you hate Warner in the first book. He is just such an a-hole. And then, by the third book, you love him so much. He is a character with so many layers that, once Juliet gets to know him and understand a little bit more about him, she understands kind of everything that he's been through and what's kind of made him him. That novella that was from Warner's point of view also kind of helped too, because by the second book you're just kind of like, Warner, so much better than Adam. And vice versa, the first two books you have Adam, who, is the main love interest, and then all of a sudden in the third book, he turns into the a-hole. Not the villain, but he definitely turns into someone that you don't want to be around and that I really, really, really want to slap across the face. The second character that really comes to mind for me is probably Clancy from the Darkest Minds series by Alexandra Bracken. Don't get me wrong, Clancy is that character that I was talking about that you hate with a fiery burning passion deep within your soul. But I kind of see where Miss Bracken is heading, and I think that there was hints in Never Fade about Clancy having more of a double side to him. And if I also remember correctly, in an interview that Alexandra Bracken did with Christine from Poland Bananas, she talks about how Clancy has more of an interesting character development in the third book. So I'm really interested to see where that's gonna go, because right now Clancy's probably one of my least liked evil villains probably ever. I don't know, there's just something about him that just rubs me the wrong way, and I really, really don't like him. A series where there is a crap load of this is probably the Game of Thrones series by George R. Martin. Probably one of the best characters, at least for me, that this transition happens to is Jaime Lannister. And really, I don't remember when everything changes, but in the first few books, I think you really don't like Jaime. He's just kind of pompous and arrogant, and he pushes a 10-year-old off a building and paralyzes him. So yeah, not one of my most liked characters. But it's after he meets Brienne and kind of his hand is cut off and he has to rely on more people, you see a different side of him coming out. And I don't necessarily think that there's technically a lot of facets to him and why, my opinion changed. I just think that he grew more as a person and as a character, if that just made sense. Keeping with the Lannisters and people that are flawed evil characters, another good example is Cersei. You really don't like her. I really don't think that she has any redeeming qualities except for one, and Tyrion points this out, is that one of her only redeeming qualities is that she does care for her children. As much as I don't agree with her opinions and what she does, I kind of can't fault her because everything that she does is for her children. the Lannisters are just such a good family to pick on with this, because then you have, you know, Cersei and Jaime, and then you have Tyrion, who's unlike all of them, and then you have Tywin, their father, who I don't think has any redeeming qualities. He doesn't really care for his children. He really cares about nothing but money, and so I think the Lannister family is very interesting because they are all so dynamic and different, and I love them. Not like love them in a good or bad way, but I like reading about them. And then the last one is really, I think, the first flawed evil character that I read, or at least that I remember reading about, and that has to be Valentine from the Mortal Instruments series by Cassandra Clare. And you really don't like Valentine at all. And it's not to where, like, you find out stuff about him and that he becomes a better person, or like he has like these qualities that make you feel bad about him. It's just one of those things to where with Valentine, I don't like him, but I don't necessarily say I hate him. His mind is just so screwed up to where he thinks that he's doing good, and I don't think that I can truly hate someone for that. I can very well dislike them and, you know, wish that they would go away, but I don't think I actually hate Valentine because he thinks that he's doing good. But at the same time, I also feel that you can kind of compare like Valentine fictional to some of the mass murderers that have happened in the past 100 years or so. And they also, I think, don't do it maliciously. I think there's some malicious intent. And I think that they think that they're doing it for good. And I still hate them, so I don't really know what makes Valentine so different. Why do I have then like different feelings between like Chairman Mao and Stalin and Hitler than I do Valentine? I really don't know. It might be because you have the dynamic between Valentine and then you have the dynamic between Sebastian, where Valentine's flawed, but Sebastian is pure evil. And he has malicious intent just written all over his little marks, I guess. I don't know. So maybe if Sebastian didn't come along, I'd still have this hatred for Valentine, but I think maybe since Sebastian did come along, I'm kind of like, well, at least he wasn't as bad as Sebastian. So who knows? So let me know your favorite flawed characters. Those are the first four that really popped to mind. I guess Game of Thrones, I technically went on a little tangent. But, you know, those are my first four that came to mind with flawed, bad characters. And so don't forget to subscribe if you like my channel. You can also follow me on Goodreads, Tumblr, and Twitter. And so bye! The books that I will be talking about the most are going to be the Shatter Me series. Ooh. A series where there is a crapload.